today's tutorial, we're gonna learn how to get into crow or bakasana. So in my tutorials, I always recommend that you're warmed up before you do any of these poses. In our arm balances or our arm strengthening poses like crow pose or side crow, we usually focus on activating the shoulders, the shoulder blades, because you're kind of in a protracted spine, and as well as your hips, a little bit of hip flexibility so that you can enter the pose really well, and of course lots of core. So for the first part of it, most arm balances are more for like confronting a pose, so it's a confrontational type of thing, confronting the floor, I mean. So the closer you are to the floor, the more you're able to lift the legs. So just think of it as just a small circus trick, really. So you just shift, the more you shift the weight into the pose, chest forward, head forward, the more your legs will be able to lift. That's the key element here, okay? Don't think about anything else. If your legs don't lift, just work on bringing the chest forward and your gaze, where you're looking, forward, okay? So coming into a squat position or malasana, I'm gonna just give how it looks, the whole image of the pose, and then we'll cut it down step by step. So you place your hands below your shoulders. Make sure that they're right here and they're not shifted forward. Once your hands are below the shoulders, make sure that you bring your feet together. Now, some of us have the tendency to keep the knees wrapped outside of the arms. What we need to do is we need to lift the hips and bring the knees behind the triceps. So look at the difference between bringing the knees around the arms and bringing the knees behind the triceps. I need to lift the hips up more. Once I do this, I keep my hips lifted and I bend the elbows 90 degrees. Once I'm in this position, I need to shift the weight forward so that the elbows are now above the wrists, and I lift one heel at a time until I find my balance coming into the pose. And then I release them very slowly. Now, some people like to put cushions or like a safety net in case they fall forward. What you can do is you can place a block ahead of you, okay? So it's not under you, it's in front of you. There's a distance here. Same thing, the hands are as wide as the shoulders and the hands are below the shoulders. You bring the knees up into the triceps. You bend your elbows 90 degrees and then you rest the forehead on the block, okay? You grip the fingertips, you bring one heel to the butt, other heel to the butt, and the weight is on the block. If you feel you're able to lift the head, you can go ahead and lift it up slowly. Look forward, chest forward. Or you keep the head down, and then you release. For some of us, we might just be here, in this pose. Up, 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 up. If you're unable to carry the weight on your arms and you have a belt or a strap, you just measure the belt shoulder width apart, so from shoulder bone to shoulder bone, okay? You wear the belt above the elbows, so I can still bend the elbows. And then same thing, feet together, hands below the shoulders, knees behind the triceps. You bend the elbows 90 degrees, chest forward, look forward, and you lift one foot at a time. And this way, the belt will help you stay into the pose. So, activation. To stay up, holding crow pose, you need to activate your inner thighs. So as if you're trying to wrap your inner thighs in towards each other, as you pull your hips up towards the ceiling, okay? Pulling inner thighs in towards each other as you lift the hips up towards the ceiling, and you're carrying your weight in the arms as well as your core. So don't just hold your weight all the way into the arms, because you want to transition later on into a handstand. So lifting the legs up, floating them up. You need to really have a locked core. Okay, so I'll show you from this this view. Let's say I'm with the belt, hands below the shoulders, the fingers are wide, they're gripping the floor. So you really think of like spider fingers, really gripping the floor. Knees behind the triceps, behind, right below the armpits. You bend your elbows, look forward, shift forward, and lift the legs all the way up towards the glutes. And then you release down. Okay, for some of us who are unable to sit in a squat pose or really have flexible hips and reach the knees behind the armpits, what you can do is you can stand on a block, okay, so that you can actually reach this part. Hands below the shoulders, hand shoulder width apart, knees behind the triceps. You bend your elbows 90 degrees, you look forward, you shift forward, and then you bring one heel at a time towards your glutes. So you really need to activate your pelvic floor once you're in your crow pose. And then you can fly in your bakasana. So I hope these little tips manage to help you become more familiar with the pose, or maybe go into it easier if you want. And if you have any questions, remember that you can write them down, comment below, or just email me. Thank you, yogis. Namaste.